What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the fourth album by Two Live Crew. Basically, this project is called Banned in the USA, and it came out in the summer of 1990. Now, originally, this was the breakout solo album of Uncle Luke. As far as this pitch going to happen, was initially the conduct of what he was going to particularly kick off as far as what's first going to happen, but it basically became a Two Live Crew album. And basically after that, Uncle Luke started to drop solo albums as well, in addition to helping out with Two Live Crew as far as what's first going to happen. So it's just kind of the pitch here. Pretty much this album's like a virtual classic. Was a big deal once again after the hit album that I reviewed back in the fall of 2024 that came out way back in 1989, which was called As Nasty as They Want to Be. Classic album that has some hits on there like Me So Horny, which particularly that album cover was a particular big deal because around that time, that was before like the explicit content stickers were kind of on albums that had explicit content on there. So back in those days, record stores were kind of having problems with the law if they sold those albums, at least in Florida, some of those type pitches. And particularly the Florida governor around that time in the late 80s, early 90s, Bob Martinez, was someone that had a beef with Two Live Crew. And they were particularly trying to defend the band, or the rap group was trying to particularly defend like the concept of being able to have freedom of speech and explicit lyrics as far as what's going to happen. So this particular album here, Banned in the USA, is the first album to have like the parental advisory explicit content sticker. So I want to say it did not happen before 1990 as far as this first going to happen. But it basically, I mean, there was a lot of process that went with this particular album as far as this first going to happen. They have a song on this particular album called Fuck Martinez that was a diss song because all the stuff he was trying to prevent their albums from being sold and just pitches like that. And that particular diss song is not on the album nowadays, but it's just kind of the pitch that it was a pretty popular song back in the day. I think it should still be on the album. It's just kind of within the pitch that the Spotify edition does not have it. So it's just a song defending their rights to be able to do it. And you may think, well, okay, you may think like, okay, why wouldn't Bob Martinez just sue Two Live Crew when he said fuck him and the sheriffs that arrested those people as far as this pitch can happen? But it's just within the content that Two Live Crew thought ahead and found some people that were named Martinez and Navarro, some of those type of people that were having problems with their particular group, and had them sign agreements to where they could say fuck them in a song, so that way they could say fuck Martinez. Pretty actual clever concept within the pitch behind it. So it's allowed to happen because they found some people good type of version of that as far as this pitch can happen. But it's just in the pitch as far as saying. And I will say on a side note, I recently reviewed As Nasty as They Want to Be, but nowadays it's been removed from Spotify, which is a pretty disappointing pitch. I'm not sure. It seems like it's been removed from YouTube as well. So the controversy about that particular album just has the pitch behind it, just like it was back in 1989, the early 90s, some of those type pitches. This kind of concept is a more elusive type product. So I would recommend. It was on Spotify back in like the fall of 2024, maybe the winter of 2025. But I would look within the pitch as far as saying I would definitely try to scoop up that product because it's becoming controversial within a sense. Now I asked Google as to the reasons why it was removed, and they said it's just more because they said it wasn't because of censorship or things like that. It was more just the concept that they bought the rights to the album that the label originally had, and Spotify did not want to pay for the label rights to, or at least not at this particular time, having to repay the label rights to Two Live Crew as opposed to the label that had it originally. So they're kind of working out the kinks with that as far as what's first going to happen. Hopefully, eventually it does show up on Spotify because it's a pretty excellent album, but I hope it's at least on iTunes because I do want to purchase the album. It's just going to be kind of a pain to have to try to track down the album within the pitch if this is going to be ongoing kind of thing. But I would just recommend to scoop up the album. But basically, back to this album here, just to be able to say within the pitch behind it, this is a virtual classic. Out of the 11 songs, there's a lot of skits on here. That says 25 songs in here, the original version from 1990. Slashing away all the skits and things like that, narrows it down to 14. And then in addition to those 14 songs, there are 3 songs that are just kind of like songs that just have like some extra gab and not really as much full bound songs. So that narrows it down to just 11 songs. Out of those 11, I wound up recommending 9 out of the 11. So I'm going to give the score of this particular album like a 9.25 out of 10. Pretty sheer and blistering just in the pitch. The thing about this particular album is similar to how things were kind of happening between folks like NWA and Public Enemy and Ice Cube, some of those particular type folks as far as those fairs going to happen. Production fairs were starting to move past just like the turntables and DJ scratchings and boom bap type format. I mean, most of this album has that particular type fair, but the productions were getting glossier to the pitch. This was still kind of before like the NWA album Niggas for Life, which was kind of one that helped herald things a lot, pretty big trendsetter, and then obviously the Chronic from 1992. But this is kind of the early type format where the production fairs were starting to be a little bit more increased within the format, just the initial type stuff. This is this is kind of amidst like the NWA days within the pitch. So Obviously, from the West Coast, the folks that were making the big deals were NWA, but I'd say in terms of Southern hip hop, I can't think of too many other full bound kind of Southern folks beyond that kind of popped up. I mean, Uncle Luke, I had seen recently, had said that he felt like his group, Two Live Crew, and some of those type albums were like the first Southern hip hop kind of artists, and that may be true. But particularly the ones that were making the most noise in Southern hip hop, especially Florida around this time in 1990, probably were Two Live Crew. So it's just one pitch as far as saying, but this is a good album. It backed up the quality. It was just dealing with the after effects of the political craze and the controversy that they were causing. Every song but two I recommend on here is a 9.25. To be able to say now, Wikipedia nowadays only lists that there were two singles, but then on the discography of Two Live Crew, it says that there were three. So one of which is called Mama Juanita, which was also a single that charted pretty well on like the hip hop and R&B charts. Didn't hit the Billboard 100, but still pretty actually outcharted Do the Bart as far as this pitch kind of happens. It's just going to pitch now. On the album, it says it's called Mama. On the album wiki, it says that this album is called Mama La Panga. As far as those pitches kind of happen, so it's an Espanol type song within the pitch behind a pretty flavor type one to kind of get within those pitch. Mama La Panga is a good aspect here, but I think the radio single of that particular song is called Mama Juanita. That's probably what I'll refer to it to because it's a little bit of a tongue twister to say Mama La Panga as far as those pitches kind of happen. But I look after it. Just be able to say, so there were three singles. The first one, recommend all three of the singles on top of that. So the first single was Banned in the USA, the title track of this album. It's like a woozy but standing firm kind of commercial gloss to kind of get here. Just some after effects, kind of crowd please that I'd say just the pitch of like the first song that you should be paying attention to after the controversy that songs like Me So Horny and the album cover of As Nasty As I Want to Be kind of caused some of those type pitches, just those particular aspects of the initial conduct of the first few moments of like explicit content kind of being on albums as far as what's first going to happen. Just they're kind of like just them basically speaking their piece and defending the concept as this was kind of a trendy new thing, especially back in the early 90s as far as what's first going to happen. So this is the sort of stuff that was kind of transforming as albums started to have explicit content and folks had more freedom to say things without having problems with like the law and the government and politics and all that particular type of stuff. And this song is good for some outings. So definitely works for like a pretty woozy type concert type song. I say within the pitch. I definitely feel like this is a performable type one. Just in the aspect, it was probably this is like their most popular song. It's outstripped Me So Horny as far as this pitch is gonna happen in terms of the popularity. It's kind of a big deal. It's just kind of an after effect, just a very bleary type one within the pitch behind. It's one of those type ones that just feels like pretty much like a commercial type one. But the thing about it is, I wouldn't fall for the. I mean, the production type fare is more glossy than the actual content of the lyrics. Just kind of the pitch. It's this kind of concept that's just a good aspect here to be able to get some of this type of conduct as they started to be. I think that back in those days, particularly when you had the controversial type songs, that's what got you publicity between things like NWA and like Ice-T, some of those type of folks that particularly did that. So this was kind of the concept of them getting their new shreds of appeal as far them getting their new aspects of appeal as far as those pitch kind of. So popular song, awesome song. It says a good gloss amount of just from the pitch behind it. Just some good kind of summer dew and drear as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just a good cruise around that just has some feel good type vibes that just is real commercial and works for the pitch. But still, them raunchy as ever, just in the pitch behind. Just an excellent type song within the fare. But it's just kind of like some summer drear and pitches like that. Good type fare for that. Just good for some standard kind of. I mean, this is not the craziest song on the album, and this is not like the typical conduct like Me So Horny and Do the Bart and face down, ass up, some of those type pitches, some of their type hits, but I'd say still a good conduct they kind of have for some of that just kind of lackadaisical and just more makeshift kind of summer energy. And there's another song off of As Nasty As I Want to Be that I want to refer to. I actually have not purchased this album yet, and I probably should have. I guess the second most popular song off this album or off of As Nasty As I Want to Be would be Come On Babe. So I need to get around to purchasing that album before it's too late. But so Mama Juanita is the second single. Now this is one that's not mentioned by Spotify, but it is on the discography chart. So just to say it's like a peppy kind of vanilla summer hop to kind of get here, just a typical day kind of romps, I'd say within the fashion of it, just vehicle centric kind of appetite for some outings as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is like a good 1-2 punch with Banned in the USA, just not quite as radio centric, I'd have to say within the pitch bond. This typical kind of outing, this feels like an NWA type song, just more from the South as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of a concept of just kind of a wanderlust type song within the pitch, just kind of the concept of just out and about within the fare behind it. Just pretty much pretty car centric for the day as far as those pitches kind of happen. Not so much like a get tore up type song, but just the pitch of finding like a belle that you're going to spend some time with and just the standard day fare, just like the typical kind of push within the commerce of just that particular day or so, or just a few days to then pitch behind. Just kind of one of those type ones for just kind of being on the road, and just it's kind of one of those type songs for just not being at the house, but also not being at a dance venue either. Just kind of the pitch of not being at work, not being at a dance spot, not being at the house. Just kind of the pitch of just belle is in mind, maybe just between pitches of going to like movie theaters, just between going to places like movie theaters, pizza parlors, some of those type pitches, just standard conducts, restaurant type fare within the pitch, but just in a standard summer type sense. So it's pretty summer fried type album with the pitch, just works like that standard fare, just kind of typical kind of busy city push as far as those pitches can happen. Good romping song. Do the Bart is the third single, and this takes it back to vintage kind of Two Live Crew, at least from what I know of them. Very similar to like Come On Babe and Me So Horny, some of those type pitches. It's interesting that they had some more widespread type singles in the pitch of this album, just the aspect of having some more spread out. But this is, like I was saying, just vintage Two Live Crew. It's like a bass laden, kind of uncommon dance single kind of get here. Just a good vanilla jump, I'd have to say. Goes pretty damn well with Me So Horny. Definitely it's a good 1-2 or 1-2-3 punch with some of those type ones. Good aspect for some of that. And this is a pretty vintage type song for them as far as those pitch gaps. So if you do miss that classic kind of conduct, if you bought previous albums by Two Live Crew, like As Nasty as They Want to Be, some of those type ones, just further type ones, just in that typical kind of raunchy sense, just an aspect, just good house party type appeal, some of those type fares, just the aspect behind it. There's plenty of these type ones that they're known for within the typical aspects that they've done. I'm actually surprised that this particular song and just did not do as much that the song did chart a little bit on like the rap charts and the hip hop R&B charts, but I'm actually surprised that this song did not do stupendously better considering their popularity. It was actually, I think, more about this album is just based on the conduct of them trudging forward the concept of like censorship not being around within those pitches, more so than the conduct of the quality of the music, which is kind of disappointing because they do have some good moments here. I mean, a lot of this is still pretty stark and to a certain extent kind of minimalist, but they do have some they do have like a pretty solid enough kind of production type fare on here. Do the Bart's probably one of the best ones on here. Band in the USA is just the most commercial song on here, but just is not as much of a dance song. It's just some pitches like that. So it's just kind of in between. Like Band in the USA and Mama Juanita are just more commerce type ones. It's kind of makeshift and more summer driven in certain sense. It's kind of recreational, but vintage Two Live Crews Do the Bart. So that's the pitch behind it. But basically, the only two songs I don't recommend out of the 11 on here would just be This Is To Luke from the Posse and then like Fuck a Gang, which both of these were just kind of city hop, just kind of out and about type ones that just were the starkest ones on here that just didn't have much jump type fare within the standard taste of it. I mean, I do like some of these type ones. It just takes it back to like NWA out of 1987 and Public Enemy out of the 80s as far as this pitch can happen, which is decent enough, but just kind of the concept of this just so retro within the pitch. I mean, it needs like something extra. Like when I think of songs that had a little bit better production fare, like Face Down, Ass Up, Do the Bart, Strip Club, some of those type ones, So Funky within certain senses, Mama Lopanga, some of those type ones. I just kind of feel like the pitch behind it just didn't have enough affluence. These were just standard type ones that just are within the trajectory. Fuck a Gang and This Is to Luke from the Posse are just more standard type ones that just didn't have as much jump off the page in terms of format. They're just basic kind of boom bap type ones that were just not as affluent. Didn't really feel like Miami bass as far as those first episodes, just on the pitch. So yeah, I give this album 9.25 out of 10. I have to say the social score will probably get a pretty high score. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, nowadays I would definitely recommend to scoop up. I don't know if on the CD edition, I would have to say that probably tracking down like the CD edition that has Fuck Martinez on there is probably a pretty difficult thing. Just considering it's been quite some time since 1990. I mean, maybe albums had it like in 2003 or 2005, but I just would think trying to track down the album, it just pretty much feels like a lost cause trying to find Fuck Martinez at this particular stage. Probably would wind up having to purchase the album a number of times just in the pitch, unless you purchased it back then. But Fuck Martinez is a nice one. It's like a controversial kind of pseudo-political rap, I'd have to say here. Good concept for that. Pretty purposeful, I have to say, just like Band in the USA. And it's like a good dance diss, I'd have to say, a good dance diss song. Pretty much good for like a lounge day nowadays and pitches like that. So this is just kind of the concept of just more nightlife type fare just in the daytime. This is probably be one amidst like the conduct of like the Band in the USA type fare. This is more type one for like the concept of just days off. Probably not one you'd listen to probably at like a coworker kind of party, something like that, or one of those type fares, especially back in 1990, 1992. But it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that this works like the concept of basically kind of doing like the Ice Cube and Easy E type stuff, just middle fingers up and Tupac type stuff, of the typical kind of 90s controversy, some of those type fares, but just kind of making a dance song and recreation about it. It's just a good type pitch to get some of that. Is most of the time political rap type songs back in those days were just a little bit more serious and it's not as much fun driving, but they do at least put a pretty good flip, has pretty good has a pretty good electric type production on here that works. I mean, it's not like they made it a full bounce song. It's just basically them just saying, hey, you know, ladies, say fuck Martinez, say fuck the other guys as far as this pitch kind of happen. Fuck Navarro, some of those type ones just from the pitch as far as those pitches can happen, but it's just kind of conduct that they did turn it into like a good interactive type song that just has a good aspect, just like some dance craze. So it's a good type aspect for that. Some of these other type ones on here, if you do miss like vintage kind of Two Live Crew, there's some songs like Strip Club, Face Down, Ass Up. Some of these type ones are real popular. Strip Club's one of the best songs on this album. It's like a jazzy kind of night out, just enjoying the buzz type tune. I'd have to say it's a cool cat kind of simp music and get tipsy type song with the pitch behind it. Just good. This definitely has some glossier sounds on here. Good aspect for some of this as far as these fairs going to happen. Good aspects as far as these fairs going to happen. Probably this could have been a single had it not had the strip. I probably would have said had this song not had the title Strip Club, this would have been a pretty good choice for like a single. But I like the concept of it, just getting some strip club songs back in those particular type days. This good aspect here, just real butter smooth type one with the pitch behind it. Probably one of the most immediate ones to go for, especially if you do not remember these particular times from like 1990, 1993. Some of these type fairs, the golden era of hip hop, some of that particular typeness. It's kind of the concept as far as getting some of these type moments. This is an immediate type one. Probably say some of the most immediate ones on here would be Banned in the USA, Do the Bart, Fuck Martinez, Strip Club, and Face Down Ass Up. But there's actually more gems on here that I actually think I like this album better than I liked As Nasty as They Want to Be. So this one pitch just really had some good jive. So Face Down Ass Up's another quality one. It's like a classic kind of resonant phrase in rap as far as this pitch can happen. It's just things that folks of like Shauna and Trina have continued to say. Folks like that, you'll catch this in like the occasional phrase when people say like face down, ass up. That's the way I like to fuck. Just that particular type concept within the pitch behind. This is, I think, where that particular phrase originated from is full bound. It might have, you know, in certain senses, you might have thought it might have been like Too Short or one of those type folks or like Slick Rick, some of those type people. I think it actually was Two Live Crew, which is pretty good for that pitch. Just to say, good hype about this song. Just some local commotion. I definitely had to say here, just good social buzz type gem to kind of get within those aspects for this pitch can have. So just another good type one for like that commotion, whether it is house party or dance venue. This early type noise just works within the pitch of it. Face down, ass up definitely works. It's like a pretty excellent combo with Me So Horny and Come On Babe, some of those type ones, and definitely like Do the Bart, some of these type pitches. So it's just good type fare. Good, excellent conduct. Mega Mix 4 is like a nice one as well as like a basic highlight for DJs that had to say just amidst like a dance night snarls. This particular song is amidst some dance night snarls as far as this pitch can happen. Just a great crazy commotion kind of kick off here within some of those type pitches, and it definitely durates as far as this pitch kind of goes. It's just the concept, just getting some of those type ones. Pretty similar to it's pretty similar. Pretty similar to Vanilla Ice, some of those particular type folks, just some good crunk type numbers, especially good for like romp type music. And this pitch is like that. It's kind of the concept of this, like some fraternized, just red cup type music within the fair, just kind of the crazy type factor. I actually feel like this album's a little bit more widespread. It does have the dance gems on here, but it's just kind of the pitch of them building up the acclaim of getting to like the conduct of just being a little bit more banner type hip hop for a spell here between As Nasty as They Want to Be in this particular album. It felt like they were kind of melding to kind of somewhat becoming faces of rap. It didn't quite pay off. It didn't quite polish off as much full blown. I want to say their 91 album just didn't do the damage of these particular two albums. Their 89 and 90 albums did, but it's just within pitch that they did make some damage and they did have some controversy and shift some things forward as far as this pitch kind of. But it did have the dance gems on here. Mega Mix is a nice one. It's not really as much a full bound song, but just as good highlight for DJs getting to cutting as far as this pitch can happen. And I say Man Not a Myth is a quality one on here. It's like a glazed kind of evening, comfy, cruise around and kind of get within these aspects. There's some typical kind of Miami commerce, I'd say. Just good concept for like a lazy type factor. Definitely some Pink Skies, just from the conduct of just lazy type day pitches like that. Just rap. This be a good song to wrap up some simple errands as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it just goes with a pretty good combination with Mama Juanita, but just not as much designated to women as far as those fairs kind of happen. Just kind of the conduct is like simple car centric type fair, just getting some stuff done within a pitch, but just not in a hurry about it. Just good type pitch for that. And so funky's the quality one as well as like a basic kind of golden era kind of neighborhood noise kind of get here. Just gas station run, definitely I would feel like burritos pitches like that. Just typical kind of local outings as far as those fairs going to happen. So funky's like a typical kind of town hop and pitches like that. This neighborhood romp, some of that particular type fair that just nails the vibe a little bit better. This just has a little bit better. So Funky just has a decent fair kind of production value, better than songs that I didn't recommend like Fuck a Gang and This Is Luke from the Posse as far as this pitch can happen. This is just more amidst like the outing typeness. It just kind of typical kind of summer conduct goes along with songs like Banned in the USA and probably songs like Mama Juanita, but just more on foot. Some of those particular type pitches, just kind of more amidst like the neighborhood, getting like some frozen burritos, corn nuts, Chex Mix, some of those type pitches within the conduct, getting like a nice tasty kind of orange soda, Dr. Pepper, some of those type pitches just within the conduct of it, getting like some Swishers, some of that particular type fare. So it's just within the aspects as far as those pitch can happen. Just good type product to some of that, just town hop type ness. Kind of amidst like the socialize with pals. There's not really as much full bound. I mean, I noticed that this is not as much of like a full bound kind of drug centric type project. I mean, there's a little bit of drink songs within the pitch here, but it's not as much full bound kind of craze. Has more raunch type factor. It's definitely, I mean, the flirt on this particular album is more on the aspect of it, but it's not. I do feel like In terms of the craze type fashion, this is actually a lot more commercial an album than I would have thought within the pitch behind it. I mean, obviously with songs like Face Down, Ass Up, Mama Juanita, Do the Bart, some of these type ones you would think, and Strip Club, some of these type of things you would think otherwise, but it's just kind of the concept that the lyrics are definitely as raunchy on here as they were in the past, but it's just kind of the concept that there's just not as much of the full bound. It's just not as indulgent as I would have thought that was going to be. It's just kind of missed the conduct of just having some other things in mind that just a little bit more kind of like a balanced breakfast or a balanced lunch. Some of those type pitches just haven't. It just has more song palette than I was expecting for like the concept of what was particularly going on, considering that they're always known for like their raunch. So just pretty appetizing type album. Then pitch just has more to offer, but it's just not as much full bound like pounding. It's not as much full bound pounding keg after keg or just thong after thong in terms of women as far as this pitch kind of happens. Just kind of with the pitch. I mean, it does have some of that, but it's just not to that full bound extent that you might think. So it's just one pitch. So 9.25 score. In terms of the social score, I would probably say I'd probably give the social score probably like a 9.5 out of 10. I feel like it's pretty excellent on here. Does have the social moments on here. It's just kind of with the pitch. It's just a little bit more balanced. The dance songs are kind of on here, but it's just not as designated like the crazy type factor in terms of radio type format. When you think of songs like Me So Horny and Come On Babe and some of the other singles off of As Nasty As They Want to Be, it's just kind of like the biggest song on here is Band in the USA, which is just kind of a more Band in the USA is just kind of a more car commerce kind of summer cruise around as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it's just a little bit more commercial. And Mama Juanita is just kind of day type fare, just with bellas in mind and just date afternoons pitches like that. So it's just kind of the concept that the vintage Two Live Crew is just only designated to do the bars. So it's just kind of with the pitch. Just had their tides and other emotions on this particular album, but it does have the songs on here, but it's just kind of the pitch. It's just not as crazy, I'd say. It's not like it's a full bound problem because this album's still excellent, but it's just something to notice. 9.5 social, though, I still would say it's pretty excellent within the fair. So in terms of the future, like Two Live Crew has not been around since 1998 as far as those fairs going to happen. I think obviously by this stage, there's some members that have kind of passed away within some of those type pitches. So it's just kind of concept. They all did drop solo albums within some of those type pitches. So eventually I'll get to those later on as far as those fairs going to happen. I'm trying to think of what the next Two Live Crew album that I'm going to review is going to be. But just some pitch, this is like a virtual classic here, way better than expected. Just some pitch, actually better than As Nasty As They Want to Be, and just has some gems on here. Real excellent fair.